Hi everyone, Rob Roos here. Today I want to talk with you about the Draghi report. The report to empower the competitiveness of the European Union. The report that was dragged out on the European Parliament election because those in power knew people wouldn't be happy about it. How undemocratic is that? Mario Draghi was the former president of the European Central Bank, and he outlines a vision for the future of the European Union with an emphasis on further integration and centralization of economic and fiscal powers within the EU. And we should have serious concerns about this approach. One of the central themes in the report is the strengthening of the common European budget on the creation of a central fiscal authority. This is a further erosion of national sovereignty. Countries are increasingly losing control over their own budgetary policies and becoming dependent on EU institutions that have little democratic control. There is a risk that national governments will be less able to respond to specific needs of their own citizens, especially in economically difficult times. In addition, the report calls for increased European financial solidarity, such as the issuance of common bonds, the so-called Eurobonds. And this is an attempt to support economically weaker countries with taxpayers' money from economically stronger countries. And this is just a redistribution system which is unfair to citizens in countries that have their finances in better order. Finally, the report stresses the need for more political integration to support economic integration. This is another dangerous shift towards a federal European superstate in which national parliaments increasingly cede power to an overarching EU bureaucracy. This would undermine democratic legitimacy as the EU institutions are far, and I mean really far, removed from the direct influence of citizens in the member states. According to Mario Draghi, a major reason for the EU's reduced competitiveness is lack of structural reforms and insufficient investments in innovation and technology. Draghi points out that many European countries are lagging behind in modernizing their economies, making them less flexible and less competitive compared to other economic powerhouses such as the United States and China. I think he has a point there, but that is because the overprotection of labor rights and too much administrative burden made up by the very EU itself, especially for small and medium-sized businesses. The EU itself is responsible to this problem with their climate policies, with their gender policies and their quotas. It's not helping companies to strengthen their innovation. You need the best people. Another factor that Draghi mentioned is the fragmentation within the EU's internal market. Although the EU theoretically has a common market, many national barriers such as divergent regulations and tax systems still exist. This prevents EU companies from fully benefiting from the economies of scale that a larger single market should offer. In my opinion, the competition between the member states creates a healthy battle, which gives more choice for the companies, more choice for the citizens, more choice for the people. So, in my opinion, this is not a problem. The real problem is that free money is handed out every time, which make a couple of member states lazy and rely on this so-called solidarity, free money. Draghi also points out the lack of a strongly coordinated fiscal policy. While monetary policy instruments are largely centralized through the European Central Bank, a common fiscal approach is lacking. As a result, some countries are unable to effectively address economic imbalances, leading to divergence in growth and productivity within the Union. Although I see the problem, I also disagree with the solution. Not a common fiscal approach, not a superstate is the solution. These member states with economic imbalances should just reform their economy until it's more balanced. It's just that simple. And Poland is a perfect example. They did the job. And if you have a good government and the right attitude, you can do it. But relying on free money makes, again, people lazy and it's not helping the economy. Finally, according to Draghi, the demographic challenge plays a role. Aging and low birth rates reduce the growth potential of EU member states. This leads to a smaller working population and less dynamism in the economy. Draghi therefore advocates a greater focus on education, labor market reforms, and there we go, attracting young talent from third countries to strengthen the EU's competitive position. And also here I disagree. They already promised us doctors, dentists, and engineers. But what we received was more crime, more unsafety, and more people depending on social welfare. We need less cheap labor because less cheap labor that stimulates innovation. If you have cheap labor, there is no need for innovation, and that's the real problem. So all these people from these Middle East countries and African countries is just a huge problem, not only for our culture and but also for the innovation. For the long term, we need a strong family policy to stimulate birth rates. That is also very important. Draghi came to the conclusion that the basis of the European economic problems is the cost of energy for industry. Electricity is 158% more expensive here in the European Union than in the US. Natural gas, 345%. Yes, we do have that problem. And that is caused by the very European Commission itself. It's the obsessed climate policy of the Green Deal, which is destroying our reliable energy sources. And now we have useless renewables, so we depend on weather conditions. The Green Deal is implemented with renewable energy solutions that defy the basic laws of mathematics and physics. It's just not possible. It's simple as that. No impact or cost analysis has been conducted, and no one knows the true cost, though it's clear it will not deliver any measurable result on global temperature. It's such an irresponsible experiment with the EU economy. We were not supposed to talk about it. Scientists and experts who challenged the energy transitions were publicly ridiculed and labeled as climate deniers. Meanwhile, a law was passed that phased out combustion engines by 2035, despite having no raw materials for the required electric car batteries, which are controlled by China. And it was no secret. Everyone knew this in advance. It's just stupid EU policy. And now we are losing competitiveness. How strange is that? And now all the laws are implemented and there is no escape anymore since EU legislations take precedence over national laws. The European Commission is highlighting the loss of competitiveness with other parts of the world, a situation they knowingly created. Critical thinkers who raised concerns were systematically silenced by big tech and the mainstream media, all on behalf of the European Union. Now the Commission proposes solutions, and that is more debt, which means higher inflation, removal of the member states' veto rights, and reduced public participation, which they term deregulation, but is essentially the erosion of citizens' democratic rights. Big government and big business come together. They unite because now we have again to make more debts, so we can subsidize the industry. So big government and big business unite, come together, leading to higher taxes, transferring wealth from the middle class to the big corporates, which is destroying even more small businesses, and it's also not good for the innovation. And of course, increasing power for the unelected bureaucrats in the Commission. Big business and big governments goes hand in hand. To conclude, ultimately, the Commission manufactures their own new crisis, in this case with the Green Deal, the competitiveness crisis. They offering solutions that strip sovereignty from member states, limits citizens' freedom, and imposes higher tax and higher cost on everything. And the key question arises, does the EU still serve its citizens? I don't think so. They only gain more power, more centralization, and it's not helping the people. If we really want to improve our competitiveness, we have to do three things, and that is deregulation, deregulation, and the third is deregulation. We are overregulated. It's devastating for small businesses, and that is the real problem for the European Union. We have too much regulation. You cannot make laws to stimulate innovation. That is the world upside down. Thank you for watching. Keep on following me on my social media. I keep you updated. Thanks for watching.